Hey everybody, welcome back from lunch. Hopefully you grabbed some food, or if you're on the West Coast, grabbed a nice mid-morning snack, a little bit of stretch break. We have an action-packed lineup of content this afternoon, but before we dive into all of that, figured we could maybe do a little bit of a reset and refocus and re-energize. And to do that, I'm inviting someone to the stage that I've known for all my life because he's my dad. My dad has 4 years of Dale Carnegie training, Dale Carnegie of how to win friends and influence people, was a trainer for that program for 4 years, has so much experience helping coach business leaders, and for the last 11 years has been working as a hypnotist. And so today, obviously with everything going on with meditation, mindfulness, there's been a lot of great content around that today. He's going to take you through a little guided session, and I'll stay on screen, but I'm going to turn my mic off and let my dad take over. Welcome, Dad.
Great. Thank you very much, Matt. I like to do a little teaching. I've been a teacher and a coach for most of my life, and I'd like to teach you a little bit about hypnosis. Hypnosis is a state between waking and sleeping, and a lot of people have strange ideas about hypnosis that they get from stage hypnotists and Hollywood. And I just want you to know that if you drop off in the midst of this, what will be a self-hypnosis session, or if I drop off for technical reasons, that you'll do just fine. You just come out of it as if coming out of a nap, or you might go on to sleep if you're really, really tired, but there are a lot of good things this afternoon. So just come out of it slowly and go on to the next thing, whatever that is for you. In one of the earlier sessions on mindfulness and mind frame or mindset, Kevin Bailey and David Durham talked about auto-hypnosis. That's the same as self-hypnosis. And anyone can do self-hypnosis. In fact, real hypnotists say that all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. Stage hypnotists like to make it look like they have the power, but actually you have the power to go into that state. And in that state, you can make changes at the subconscious level. So I help people quit bad habits, release fears, clear them, do deep forgiveness, and that sort of thing. Improve their lives by changing things at the subconscious level. I think it was David who talked about using it to improve his rowing so that he's one of the top 10 now in his age group as a rower. And he did that with auto-hypnosis, self-hypnosis. I'm going to use self-hypnosis today with you, helping you relax the same way you would in meditation. In fact, when I am asked, how is hypnosis different from meditation? I thought about it for a while, and I realized from my own experience it's not that much different, except that hypnosis is like meditation on a mission. The idea is not just that meditation in itself is an end in itself, but by using relaxation techniques and going into that deeper state of hypnosis, you can address the subconscious mind with affirmations of what it is you want, intend, and deserve to have in your life. So I'm going to use generalized affirmations such as, I am more than good enough. You are more than good enough. I am courageously wholehearted. And I am up to whatever life throws at me today. I am up to whatever life throws at me today. So let's relax, as you know how to relax with meditations. Begin with a deep breath. A deep breath in, and let it go slowly. Breathe in through your nose if you can, another deep breath. And let it go slowly. Make the exhale longer than the inhale, and you'll feel yourself relaxing. Another deep breath in. And if you haven't already closed your eyes, see how slowly you can close them on this exhale. If you've already closed your eyes, just imagine closing them again. On the next deep breath in, roll your eyes up behind your closed eyelids, as if you were looking through your own eyebrows. And if your eyelids flutter, that's okay. Now breathe out and let your eyes come back down into a comfortable position. Good. You should feel the relaxation now as you breathe in again. Eyes up. And breathe out and let your eyes come back down into a comfortable resting position. Do that 3 more times on your own. And when you're finished with those 3 controlled breaths, with your eyes up on the inhale and down on the exhale, then let your eyes rest because they're tired. And let your breath go back to natural, easy breathing, the way you breathe most of the time without thinking about it. You can watch your breath if that's a form of meditation that you're used to, but eventually you can even let go of that. And imagine warm liquid relaxation, like liquid sunshine, like liquid relaxation pouring down over the top of your head. And let it flow down the back of your head now, relaxing the top of your head and the back of your head. Let it flow into your neck and into your spine, and then down your spine through each vertebra all the way to your tailbone. Imagine it, invite it, welcome that relaxation. From the top of your head, let it flow now, sides of your head and neck, into your neck and shoulders, where many people hold tension. You now invite and welcome and feel the relaxation. Let it flow from your shoulders on down into your arms, upper arms filling with relaxation. Imagine it filling from the marrow of your bones out to the very edge of your skin and just beyond, so that you're not only filled with relaxation, but you are enveloped in relaxation. Let it flow into your elbows and forearms, into your wrists now, all the bones in your hands, fill with relaxation, and then the tendons and muscles out to the edge of your skin and just beyond. Take your attention back to the top of your head now and let that warm liquid relaxation flow over your face, relaxing the muscles of your forehead. Feel that. Let it relax all the muscles around your eyes, all the tiny muscles. Now imagine your nose and cheeks relaxing, and be amazed how you may feel them relaxing. Upper lip and lower jaw, just let go. Let that liquid flow over your chin and down the outside of your throat and neck, and then down across your chest and abdomen. Let it flow around the sides of you to your back, and let it now penetrate from the front and the sides and the back into your torso, from your waist up to your neck. Let it flow in, filling every muscle, bone, fiber, internal organs now, filling with relaxation. Pumping your blood, relaxed. Your lungs breathe, relaxed. Your stomach and intestines digest your food and nourish your body, but even they can do that relaxed. And as you notice this, you take a lesson from this, that you too can do all you need to do. Make any change you need to make. Do any deed that is worthy of you in a relaxed state. With your upper body relaxed and still relaxing deeper with each breath, because you're wanting to relax deeper with each breath. You're willing, and you do relax deeper with each breath. Let that warm liquid relaxation flow on down into your lower body now, filling your hips and buttocks, your pelvis and thighs. Again, from those large thigh bones out through your large muscles, filling and filling out to the edge of your skin and just beyond. Let it flow on down into your knees and into your lower legs, from the marrow of your bones out to the edge of your skin and just beyond, and now into your feet. And with your mind now, focus on your hardworking feet. And with your mind now, just with your mind, massage your feet. Massage the tops and the sides and the backs of your feet. Massage the tops and the sides and the backs of your feet. And now massage underneath. Massage your heels, arches and insteps. Deeply massage the balls of your feet. And now your toes. At the same time, your big toes, the next toes, your middle toes, the next toes, and your little toes. Massage them underneath, around on the sides and the tops of your toes, all the way to the tips of your toes, so that from the tips of your toes now to the top of your head, you feel a wave of relaxation as you inhale, and from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, you feel a wave of relaxation as you exhale. Just connect your breathing in and out, natural, easy breathing in and out, with these simple, easy waves of relaxation that continue to take you deeper into that state between waking and sleeping, as if towards sleep, but not to sleep. And in this deep state now, you naturally open at the subconscious level. And now let me affirm you. You are courageously wholehearted. See how you are, at times in your life, courageously wholehearted. And see anywhere in your life where you'd like to be more courageously wholehearted, to bring your gifts to those around you, to the people you live with and work with, to the people you meet. Bring your gifts courageously and wholeheartedly. Bring your gifts. Know that when you were small, there were things that made you feel you weren't good enough, maybe an older sibling, or the adults around you who could run faster, lift more, speak better, and adopted the idea that you've carried on that you're not good enough, but you are. You are more than good enough. You are good enough and more than good enough for what life brings you. You are good enough and more than good enough to share what you have with those around you, to share your intelligence, to share your insights. You are from the beginning more than enough, more than good enough. And so, courageously and wholeheartedly now, when you come out of this deep rest, you can share all that you have, all that you are, for you are good enough and more than good enough. All that you have is good enough and more than good enough. And your goals, what you want yet to do, be, have, and give, are good, worthy goals. And you can courageously and wholeheartedly and easily, more and more easily, more and more often, find that you move toward them and achieve them and reset them and move toward them and achieve them. And it's good. It's good for you and it's good for the world. When you make your life better, you make the whole world better, for it ripples out from you like a pebble in a pond. Those ripples go out and out. You making your life better makes the world better. You making your life better makes the world better. And so let that be. You can step out of your own way with a breath. You can step out of your own way with a smile. And let the best that you have, that courageously wholehearted you, show up. That you that's more than good enough. That you that has worthy goals and is moving to achieve them and then enjoy them and set new ones and move toward them easily and achieve them, and so on and so on. Always in this present moment, feeling strong, for you are. I'll say those things in first person now, and you can just echo them in your mind and heart. I am courageously wholehearted. I am more than good enough. I bring good things to the world. And it's good. On that positive note, now I'll simply count you up. I'll count you up from 1 to 5. Come up easily. 1, feeling relaxed, refreshed, and renewed, ready for the afternoon. 2, 3, take a deep breath and blow it out strongly. This is an energy breath, so take it in quickly and blow it out strongly. Open your mouth and blow it out strongly, like, there we go. Do that again. Big, deep breath in, blow it out strongly. You'll get a new energy breath. You'll get a new burst of energy in 10 or 15 minutes that will see you through the rest of this day. 4 and 5, open your eyes and enjoy the rest of this wonderful day. Bring your best to it and enjoy the best that others bring. Thank you, Matt, for this opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for doing it. Thanks for being up for it. I know I asked you kind of last minute, but the fact that we were able to make it happen was good. I think with so many sessions going on, 80 plus speakers, 2 full days, it's kind of a perfect way to reset before the last 25% of the event. And I think it ties in really nicely to a lot of the other things people were talking about with mindset and performance. And
Yes.
I think it's great.
Absolutely. Good. Well, enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Dad. I appreciate it.
It's on a very successful.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we're about to kick things off with our next keynote here. So thanks, Dad. I appreciate it. And if you're interested in guided meditations or hypnosis, there is a virtual expo booth. Hypnosisly is actually my dad's company, where he does work with a lot of founders, but he also works with people from all walks of life. And it is one of those things that can absolutely help anchor a lot of the things that you want to see more in yourself. And I just encourage you to do that, because whether that's with my dad or not, I encourage you to really anchor yourself and reaffirm yourself that you are the things that you want to be more of in this world. And I think that's kind of what Powder Keg Gun Valley is all about in a lot of ways, sort of finding that spark, tapping into your full potential, and making the biggest impact possible. And it's cool to be able to do that with this community here, and kick things off into the last afternoon of Powder Keg Gun Valley. My next conversation, I'm going to bring up to the stage here in just a couple of minutes. These people are people that I've learned quite a bit from over the years. One of them is someone who is actually a community leader of community leaders. I have followed him since the very early days of what he was doing, learning from him as we've built the community here in what became now Powder Keg. And this other person I met more recently, and I'm just blown away by what she's doing with her community at a growing, scaling SaaS company. So want to go ahead and introduce those folks. Let me open my slide deck here. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain as I pull open my slide deck. All right. First up, we have someone who has so much community building experience. I am absolutely blown away by the community that she has been able to build. Ashley Dodge is the Senior Director of Community at COPADO. And the community that she's building there for DevOps is really impressive. 30,000 plus people from around the country in that DevOps community. And I'm super excited to have you here to talk about how that's powered your SaaS company at COPADO. So Ashley, thanks so much for being here. And thanks for jumping in on the tail end of a meditation.
Absolutely. Thanks, Matt. What a treat to get to kick off my afternoon with a meditation. I don't know that I've ever had a conference provide that experience. Right before speaking, that added relaxation is always nice.
It is kind of nice. Calms the nerves. And at the same time, I feel like it kind of locks in a different level of focus, which is kind of nice.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I'm about to bring our other guest up here to the stage, but before I do, I thought I might give you a chance to talk a little bit about COPADO and just from a high level, what is the SaaS company that is COPADO?
Yeah, absolutely. So COPADO is the #1 DevOps platform built natively on Salesforce. So for anybody in the audience that's more technical in nature, developers, release managers, you're all probably very aware of the challenges that come during the release and development lifecycle, and especially when you add on a complex platform like Salesforce and all of the layers of metadata. And so essentially with COPADO, we streamline that and we make it more possible for you to release more frequently, smaller releases. Our ultimate goal is to make release days obsolete. So really removing that friction that comes between, all of the testing and preparation that comes for a release, and then releasing a huge amount of change into an organization that has to be absorbed at once. If you can deliver more continuously, it's smaller change for the users, less risk, and you're adding value faster. And so that's really what COPADO aims to do.
Could you tell me a little bit about how the transition into starting a community happened at COPADO? Because I think for a lot of people who haven't been studying community or been paying attention to the more macro trends in community, it may seem like two separate things, but I think it's such a killer combination, and the way your community is thriving right now is super impressive. So what was sort of that initial spark that ignited the move into creating the COPADO community?
Yeah, it's a really great question. And one of the things that captured my attention the most when I was looking for my next opportunity. COPADO is relatively young as a startup, founded in 2017. And we were doing a lot of in-person training events, like most product companies, right? One of the hardest things to do is actually teach people how to use your product. And so we were doing a lot of in-person training events for our developer audience around the world. Reportedly, people would show up and there would be lines outside of hotels for these training events. There was such a high demand. And so that was really great to see. But as we grew, right, that becomes more and more difficult to replicate globally. And then we had the pandemic happen, right? And so then we were no longer even able to host these in-person training events. But we still had customers who were trying to train their teams on how to use this platform that they knew could change the way that they delivered. We had government and state agencies looking to train their teams because they needed to deploy COVID-related tracking and vaccine management apps. And they knew that they needed a better DevOps solution to get that done. And so our academy, our online learning platform, was really born out of that circumstance and became kind of the front door to what is now our community. And so we really started by adding on top of our case management solution, which was luckily built in Salesforce communities, the ability to take learning, academy modules, certifications. And as we kind of evolved and saw the influx of users, I mean, in 2020 alone, from 6,000 to over 30,000 users joined our community, we knew we needed to start providing more capabilities. And so we really started to zoom out and look more holistically at, like, what do our members want? What do they need? How can they be building those peer-to-peer relationships and, connecting, finding new job opportunities or new skills? And so that's really been kind of the evolution of our community in really a relatively short period of time.
Story, and there's so much to dive into there. So I definitely want to do that. But first, I want to welcome to the virtual stage David Spinks, who is VP of Community at Bevy. But prior to that, started CMX, which, as I mentioned earlier, is like a community of community builders that I've been learning from since, I think, the very early days of when you first started sharing content, David. So it's really exciting to have you here today. I want to welcome you to Powder Keg Gun Valley.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Do you mind sharing a little bit about what Bevy is and how community plays a part in that?
Yeah, of course. And sorry I'm late.
Oh,
I'm
you're
very
fine.
excited to be here and be on the panel with Ashley. So CMX, we started 7 years ago, bootstrap company to essentially bring together the community industry. And I've been doing this work professionally for over 13 years. But struggle to find a network or frameworks or tools or processes on how to do this. So we just kind of had to figure it out ourselves in those early days. So that's why we started CMX, so we can make the path a lot easier for the future of community-driven businesses. And so built that up for 5 years, ran over 10 conferences, local chapters around the world, developed training programs, lots of online communities. And then we were acquired by Bevy 2 years ago. And Bevy is a software platform that powers community-driven events. So it started off with like the chapter-based program. So if your community members want to self-organize their own local events, you can power all of that through the Bevy platform. Now we also power virtual conferences like this one, virtual meetups, kind of like an end-to-end community events tool.
We've actually had Derek Anderson, CEO and founder of Bevy, on the podcast before in the past, but I think that was pre-CMX acquisition. So it's cool to have you here, and I'm eager to hear how community is powering that SaaS platform. I know it's very meta because it's a SaaS platform for communities, and you're the community manager of that SaaS platform for communities. So there's a lot we can cover there, but I'm curious. Ashley, just as COPADO started its community, was it hard to get leadership on board and get the entire team on board with this concept of building community for a SaaS business?
Yeah, that's another great question, Matt. I think in a lot of organizations, it is a challenge to show the value before you can really build it. But I think we had a couple of things going for us in COPADO that made that conversation a lot easier. One, our entire leadership team are seasoned veterans from the Salesforce ecosystem. So they've seen the power of community at work through the Trailblazer community. They see the value that it's brought to adoption and expansion and kind of all of those business ROI things that we're looking to achieve with community. But then we also had, the pandemic and that learning challenge that we were trying to tackle, and they had seen the value of that learning program. And so it was really the kind of the combination of those two experiences that I think made it a much easier conversation. I think for us, the hardest part was figuring out does community live within our organization? I think that's different for each company, really, based on what the objectives of that community are. And so when we looked at it, our goal is really to create a holistic environment for our community base, our members, which is learners, customers, and partners, to be able to do everything they need to do with COPADO. And so because it really touches all parts of the business, it touches, our product, our learning, it touches our customer success, our support, our implementation team. We made the decision that this would live under our chief operating officer, our COO. And that way we maintained that alignment to all areas of the business versus starting to lean one direction, like leaning into the marketing or really leaning into just the product education. Instead, we kind of maintain a more holistic view through that office of the COO, which I think for us, that was the longer part of that conversation.
Much sense. I'm curious, David, what you're seeing across the organizations that you work with and some of the community managers in your community.
Yeah, no, I think that's spot on. Exactly what Ashley said. I always kind of describe community as pretty similar to operations and the COO role in that way. In that if you look at like marketing and the CMO, they have a pretty clear set of metrics and they're focused on a very specific part of the business. But you look at something like operations, or sometimes I also use design. It's something that impacts every part of the business, right? Like there's marketing operations, there's product operations, there's people operations. So the operations department serves as a sort of center of excellence, but you might still have a head of marketing operations on the marketing team. You might have a head of product operations on the product team. And so community is very similar in that way. I see it as a center of excellence. I believe there should be a chief community officer, and I think we're going to see a lot more of those coming up. We're starting to finally see it happen, which is really cool. And so it serves as a center of excellence that sets like, here are community standards, here are our community values, here's our community operations and programs. And now we're going to look at how do we use community and how do we insert community into powering growth with a marketing team? How do we work with product to collect feedback and insights that help us innovate? How do we integrate with success and support to help us provide a better experience for our customers? And it plugs into all the different parts of the business.
Important things when sort of laying the base of a community. And when I say laying the base, specifically through the lens of this talk, connecting it to the business of SaaS, having a community over here, how do you make sure that the community is actually powering the outcomes of the overall company? Are there any things that you've done in your organization or that you've seen done or studied? And David, I'll start with you just because you're unmuted right now. But Ashley, I would also love to hear how that has gone at COPADO.
Got to stay unmuted. That's the key. That's how you get more airtime. So I think one thing that's important to call out is that there are kind of two different kinds of programs that we see SaaS companies run. We see like product centric and industry centric. So product centric is like Salesforce Trailblazer program or Atlassian support forums, B2B companies that are basically building a community around their product. And they're saying, okay, you're going to come here. We're going to teach you how to better use our product. We're going to teach you how to, be successful at integrating your tools. And it's very focused on the product and the brand. Then you have industry specific, which is, focused on a larger identity that the product is serving. So you have something like HubSpot's Inbound or Culture Amp's People Geeks, or Branch's Mobile Growth. So they're focused on the larger identity. Usually when that's the case, it's an acquisition focused community. They're building this industry identity with the hopes that people will learn about HubSpot or Culture Amp or Branch by participating there and then ultimately become a customer. Whereas the product communities are more specifically for their existing customers. And the way we do this at Bevy and CMX is an industry community. We're focused on community professionals at large. And our primary objective for the business that we're focused on today is marketing and growth. And so we can, right now, we're doing a lot of work on this right now. And actually, I'm really excited to share some of it soon. But specifically for our events, we are tracking all of our community events, whether it's run by our community members or by our team. And we're tracking how that impacts the sales journey. So we can see people who came to events, were they part of a target account? Did they become a lead from that event? Were they already in the pipeline? Did they become an opportunity? Ultimately, sales accepted leads is a big priority for us. So how many people who came to our events became a sales accepted lead and ultimately closed? And through that, we're actually able to show a very clear number for how community is driving business growth.
That's really cool. I'm excited to check out that feature of the product when you roll it out.
It's already in the product, but for CMX, we're just we'll share like the processes and the tools and the kind of systems that we set up soon.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. That's awesome. That makes a ton of sense. And I love the concept of product community, industry community. It seems to me that maybe there are some hybrids, because when I think about COPADO, I almost think of that as a hybrid community, at least what you've shared with me. Actually, it seems like there's a lot of ways to plug in and get more out of the product, but then there's also more just like industry specific. How do you accelerate your career in DevOps? How do you plug into jobs? How do you kind of navigate that ecosystem? Did it start more industry focused or product focused in the early days?
Yeah, I do think it is a bit of a hybrid, probably leaning more on the product side because we are, a unique platform, and a lot of our education is centered around that. A lot of our discussion groups are centered around learning the platform, ideating on, integrations or ways to leverage the platform. But I think we've started to put our toe in the water of being more of an industry space. And one of the core reasons for that is because when we look at DevOps professionals, typically a DevOps team is supporting multiple different technology platforms within an organization. So they're not necessarily like Salesforce DevOps engineers. They're just DevOps engineers, and they happen to inherit a Salesforce platform when one of their business units has implemented it. And so for that reason, we really want to bring that population into, our community. We can learn from them. We can learn how to make that easier for them when they're managing a complex process like that across multiple platforms. We can develop integrations alongside them that make that easier, things like Jira and other tools that are really common for them to be using. And so for that reason, I think, we have a bit of a toe in the water in being an industry community on top of being that product community.
What kinds of metrics did you start out measuring or optimizing for when rolling out the product? And what are those things internally that you really celebrate when they happen within your community, Ashley?
Yeah. So, a lot of this is we're building it now, right? So I joined the COPADO community team as the sole member in January. And as of next week, we'll be onboarding my 7th team member. So we are very much in the build phase of that kind of infrastructure right now, which has been really exciting. And I think some of the core metrics and kind of back to your previous question, even on how did we get that alignment with other business groups and make sure that we were, marching to the beat of the same drum. That's really where we've started with our core metrics this year, is on where we can add value across the organization. And so it's partnering with customer success, making sure that customers are onboarded in a way where they know where all their resources are, where they know what training to take first based on their role, based on their level of experience, where we can make sure that they're getting consistent, messaging and reduce some of that burden of onboarding from customer success through automation and through the community. But it's also, partnering with our support team to better understand our case management process and how could we optimize that so that users are getting directed to discussion groups or ask an expert series or to an upcoming webinar that might answer their question, or a learning module even, right? Versus it being a support case and kind of just being answered one-off. And so we're working with each of those teams to kind of define the metrics that matter most to them and where we can leverage the community to influence those, while still maintaining that focus on everything has to be done with the intention of that it's in the best interest of that community member.
I love that. I'm curious, David, if you think that every SaaS company can benefit from community.
Absolutely. Why not? Right. I think every company can benefit from community, because companies are just people. At the end of the day, we've like built this illusion that like companies are these unique identities that exist in reality, when it's really just humans doing things for other humans. So whenever humans are involved, community's involved. It's inextricable from each other. So, start internally, if nothing else. Are you building a healthy internal community, especially as every company is going remote? What are you doing to make sure your employees feel a sense of belonging and they're becoming natural advocates for the brand and the product? And then, B2B is, I think, probably one of the fastest growing segments in the community industry. It used to be a little more heavily consumer centric, because like you have fan bases for companies like Apple or Nike or Fitbit, and B2B is like, I don't know who's gonna be a fan of corporate legal software, and then like Ironclad's building a thriving community for legal ops, right? It's so like every B2B company is serving a professional identity of some sort, and almost for sure, especially in like the unsexy ones, there's a great opportunity to build community, because they don't think they're unsexy. They're really passionate about the work they do, and they want to have spaces to learn and connect with each other. And if your company can give them that space where they can truly fully express their identity in a way they can't anywhere else, you're going to get retention and growth that you can't buy with advertising.
I love that you called out Ironclad, because they're our closing keynote conversing yesterday.
Are they?
Day one.
Nope.
Yep. They just
I knew that.
acquired a big startup in the middle of the country here called PackSafe, building their HQ in the Unvalley now at Ironclad.
That's dope. They just hired a chief community officer as well.
Nice. So I did not know that. That's a cool thread. Do you think that the community initiative needs to come directly from the CEO?
I think it starts that way. I think like the original chief community officer is the CEO. Right. They're generally the one like being very hands-on, building a lot of relationships, and they're often the first community builder. But like, I mean, the CEO, like they have a lot of jobs that aren't community. And so it's always going to be a small part of their day-to-day work. If you really want it to be a priority, I would hire for community from day one. Like look at what Teal did with Eric Martin, the chief community officer there. And I mean, Eric's been working in community for a very long time, very experienced with Nike and Reddit. And so he knows what he's doing. And by putting someone like that in executive position from day one, like I have no doubt in my mind that they are going to do an incredible job of building community that's like driving real business value and having impact from day one, because they're not making it an afterthought, and they're putting someone very experienced in charge of it from day one.
For startups or enterprises that maybe don't have community or have an inkling of an idea of maybe pulling a community together, I'm curious what kinds of things you did in the early days, Ashley. I know community already existed at COPADO, but I'm curious what kinds of things really kind of helped fan the flame and turn it into this thriving, huge tens of thousands of people community around DevOps and COPADO.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really all comes back to listening to that community, understanding what their needs and desires are, right? Like we could all go in a boardroom and like design a really, really cool platform with really, really cool features. But if that's not really what the audience is looking for, they're not going to keep coming back. They're not going to be telling their friends and coworkers about it. And so for us, I think it's really been that. It's been a really big exercise in active listening and just continuing to hear from one member at a time what's important and then play it back to smaller groups of members to get their feedback. And one example of that is for our company kickoff this year, we wanted to bring some community members in so that the rest of our organization that doesn't get to be a part of the community as part of their day-to-day role in the company, everybody's welcome to be in it, but as part of their actual function, could hear of the impact that this is making, helping people land brand new jobs, relocate across the world, like really, really cool stories. And so we reached out to a couple dozen of our community members and asked if they would be willing to, be a part of this video mashup that we were creating. And we got a lot of great responses. We compiled it. We shared that video internally and then later on an external meeting. And one of the pieces of feedback that we got was there were a lot of women presenters on the call, but there weren't any women in the video representing the community. And, it really kind of broke my heart to hear that because we had tried really hard to represent, all these different countries, all these different languages, all these different skill sets, but we didn't get any responses from any of our female community members. And so we kind of went back to the drawing board and we're like, okay, what is this problem? Like why is this happening? And, in 2019, the State of DevOps report shared that only 16% of DevOps teams around the world include women. And so when we really started looking at that, we're like, I think we need to solve the root problem, right? Like we could go and ask and beg a community member that's a female to be a part of this. But if we don't start bringing more women into the DevOps space, right, this is just going to continue to be a compounding problem. And so in March, we launched our DevOps Women's Network, which is a dedicated space within our community for women to be able to come and learn, to ask questions, to find female mentors in tech. We host quarterly events and bring speakers to those. And we've gotten a lot of feedback, that a lot of women were really looking for this. Our first event alone certified over 100 women with the first level of COPADO certification. And so it really just showed us that people are looking for more of a dedicated space where they can show up, where there's a likeness between them and others, where we're creating that safe conversational space. And so we just keep trying to lean into that and hear from our members as much as possible and use that to kind of guide our roadmap and continually reprioritize our programming based off what we're hearing.
I love that. That's such a cool story, and I hope I can dig in a little bit more on that. I do see that we've got a question here in the Q&A, and that's just a reminder for those listening. We do have a Q&A here, so don't be shy. Ask questions. We've still got a few minutes left. Becky Reed asked, for early startups, what's the biggest priority or the first things to do every day or week when building a community for the first time? And David, I'd love to hear your general advice there. And Ashley, if you have some ways you start the day or week too, I'd love to hear that too. But what are your thoughts, David?
So is it to start a new community or just in general, what do you do every?
This doesn't look like it's through the lens of starting a new community. It's just more of a, what's the
day to day?
Yeah. Day to day. What's like the first thing to do each day or each week? But it also does say when building the community for the first time. So Becky, if you want to add more context, feel free to. I'll divert the question into, why don't we start with first timers, David, and then Ashley, if you've got some thoughts, since this is not a first time for COPADO, would love an idea of what your day-to-day looks like if you're cool with that. So, yeah. So David, where should a startup start when building a community for the first time?
Yeah, I think when you're starting,
you can't hire in the ex-community manager from Reddit or Nike, and you got to do it yourself.
That's okay. I'll forgive you. I think so when you're first starting, it's really important to do things that don't scale and be very, very hands-on. So I'm sure Ashley's answer will be a lot of like sustainable operations and some things that are automated and routines and build out a team that like there's a whole operation going on, right? Like I don't actually do a ton day to day in the community because we have a whole like team built around it now. In the early days, you are hands-on every day, showing up consistently. I would start very small. I wouldn't start with like inviting 1,000 people to a forum. I would start with getting on a phone call one-on-one with 10 people and then inviting them to a 10-person video chat or dinner when we can meet in person again, and just start very intimate, very curated, very hands-on, because that does two things. One, it helps you learn a lot. And in those early days, you're looking for community market fit, the same way you look for product market fit. And your goal isn't to grow, your goal is to learn. And so by literally talking to the people that you want to build community for and keeping it very small, you get to build this very close kind of relationship. So you learn a lot. And then the second thing is that makes them feel really special, and builds that strong relationship amongst that small group. And what that does is it creates this like dense core that will serve as the center of gravity for the community. It's like the foundation. That's where the culture will start. That's for DEI. If you're intentional about who those 10 people are, that sets the example and the template that you can grow around it. And that creates, if there's 10 people who are really high quality, who are really engaged with each other, and then you invite 10 more people and they see that engagement and that closeness, that's like, I like to think of it like a center of gravity, because others feel pulled into it, and it will grow and grow and grow from there.
I love that. I love the metaphor of like, it's almost like planting a seed, and you want to plant the right kind of seed, give it the right kind of watering, fertilizer. You're not necessarily trying to turn it into a tree from day one. Let's just be really intentional with
and imagine if you gave that little seedling the amount of water and sun that a full tree needs, it would drown it immediately. It would die, right? So I love the tree analogy. I use that in my book for like the community life cycle. And exactly, it's like it's a seedling, like it's delicate. Like just be very sensitive, give it a little, be there, be present, but don't like overwhelm it with 1,000 members and drown it, because you lose an opportunity to build a really good foundation.
I love that. I love that encouragement. And Ashley, I'm going to reframe the original question. What's one of the most impactful things that you do in your day to day that makes a direct impact on the COPADO community?
I think honestly, it really goes back to a lot of what David said, and that's like not worrying about the scalability out of the gate. It's responsiveness. I think that's where our team really excels. It's making sure that people people know that we hear them, whether that's a comment on, LinkedIn, whether that's directly within our community, whether that's an email, right? Just being human and hearing people. We've had members tell us, I can't help you with that event because I just lost my job, or because I'm interviewing for a new job. And being able to step away from what our need was in the moment and go, well, what do you need, right? You're looking for a new job. How can we help you? You're preparing for an interview. What would be helpful, from us, for you to be able to do that, right? And so being able to kind of, sure, we always have our own needs and things that we would like to do, but being able to put that second to whatever we hear from our members, and just if we see them commenting or questioning in a discussion forum, making sure we're connecting them with an expert right away that can help them. And sometimes that's another customer or another learner, and sometimes that's somebody internally, and just being able to know kind of who those right people are to engage and make sure that that person gets the support or the mentorship that they're looking for.
I love that answer. And I've loved listening to both of you because I've learned a ton. I wish I could extend this for an extra 3 hours, because obviously community is something near and dear to my heart. But I really appreciate both of you taking time out of your busy days to plug in here at Powder Keg Gun Valley.
Thanks for the opportunity, Matt.
Absolutely. And I put here in the chat, for those of you that want to check out COPADO or Bevy, definitely check those out. It's copado.com, bevy.com. If someone from my team is listening, maybe we could throw in some Twitter handles for David and Ashley as well. Definitely two people worth following, and super grateful to have you here. CMXHub.com too. Yes, good point, David. Yeah, definitely check that out. Big fan of everything y'all are doing, and thanks for being part of the Powder Keg community.
Appreciate it.
Have a great afternoon. All right, friends, don't go anywhere, because I want to tell you what's up. Here's what's next. First of all, huge shout out to our friends at 1150 Academy, 501c3 nonprofit coding academy. We also have our friends from Lacework. Lacework is the industry's first solution to bring automation, speed, and scale to cloud security, enabling enterprises to safely innovate in the cloud at the speed of DevOps. So Lacework is kind of a cool company, new to the powder keg community. Check them out in the expo area. And finally, Alchemy, video storytelling for startups. You'll see them helping us turn a lot of this insight and stories into video snippets following powder keg and Unvalley. Really cool company out of Kansas City. Definitely check them out in the expo area. And here's what's next. Right now, literally right now, Matt Conwell and 3 other VCs are talking about the future of fundraising. We've got Susan Langer, founder and CEO of Live, Give, Save. We also have some tech leaders from the Charlotte tech community and people from InsurTech, FinTech. Definitely something worth plugging into. And then finally, Çetin, oh gosh, I'm not going to pronounce his name right, so I'm just not going to butcher it. I should have absolutely studied that before I said that, but he's the CEO of LOCOMATION. Definitely check that out. All 3 of those sessions are going on right now, so you can stop listening to me. Go check out those stages. They're happening right now on the left. If you go to the live sessions, this live stages, you'll find all 3 of those different talks happening. And thanks again for being here for David Spinks and Ashley Dodge to talk community. This is awesome. I'll see you in there.